Hello, hello, Taurus. Welcome to your February 2020 overview reading. This is good for you if you're a sun, moon, or rising Taurus. And before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already to get more readings from me. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, and yes, I do cold psychic readings. That's the bulk of my work. Go to onyxhealing.com to schedule yours. And we have a really exciting pink Valentine's-y themed reading, so I hope you enjoy. And I'm going to go ahead and lay this out, then we will get started. All right, let's start with your oracle cards. First thing coming up is tact. I speak and act with care, remembering that impulsive words or a harsh tone can sometimes hurt others. If I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, I'll remind myself that those eggshells might actually be a shop full of china, and I might actually be a bowl. Then I'll remind myself to stop mixing metaphors. Okay, so this is just about mindfulness around communication. That's ultimately what tact is about, right? Not needing to be so heavy-handed that you rattle the other person, but in the same breath also being honest and open with what you're feeling. There's a way to balance both. So this is just reminding you balanced communication is the best policy. Then we have, to relinquish control, I simply let loose and allow myself to be more childlike. Yeah, so there's something, as an adult, what I can say is a really helpful practice is getting into, what if this was already taken care of for me? Even if you didn't experience that as a child. I know I didn't. But a lot of you might be able to fall back into that. Like, okay, what is that feeling of it's already taken care of because I've experienced that before? Now, the central energy for you is the Five of Pentacles. This is scarcity, so let me pull the crossing energy. We have the Fool, and then there's bliss right there. So as we all know, in order to shift out of scarcity, you have to tackle the emotions first. You can't think your way logically into abundance. You might be able to, but that's going to be much more challenging than if you focus on the emotional piece. For many of you, this is new, right? If you have a tendency to cling really tightly, that's what the Five of Pentacles is. And all of this is about coming into balance, letting loose, trying something new, and that bliss, the word bliss, sitting on that, just tells me that it's really about relaxing. Relax. Right, because tensing up and stressing is not actually going to shift anything. It's going to cause more contraction, and that's going to be reflected to you externally. Let's see what's shifting out. Strength, personal power, will. I think this was just kind of a test of endurance. In many respects, that's what the Strength card is highlighting. And that makes sense. It's like you've been through a lot, you've done a lot, you've worked a lot. And now it's just about pivoting with where you are and understanding that a new approach is required in order to shift this piece of scarcity. And remember, scarcity isn't just about money. It's time, energy, resources, access, right? All of that stuff can show up as scarcity as well. And so the Strength card is kind of like the endurance, having to do it all on your own. A lot of that fixed energy coming off of this card. And so now it's well, maybe it does get to be easier. Maybe you don't need to cling so tightly. Maybe you are allowed to relax into feeling supported and not have to fixate so forcefully on controlling everything. So this is an evolution of kind of putting down how much personal power comes off of this card to the point where it's suffocating. And then the oncoming energy is the Five of Swords. This is the end of a battle, right? So this is a nice trajectory that you have going on in this, shifting out and then coming in. And the reason being is that this is about the labor, the work, having to try so hard. that's being laid to rest. So even if you're in the middle of a storm, if you're dealing with something really intense in this moment where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out, the solution ends up being relaxing and not thrashing around. Thrashing will not fix it. White knuckling it will not fix it. It's not going to make it easier. So this is where let loose, allow yourself, allow it to be taken care of, come into balance with that, and it's going to shift dramatically. Okay, let's look at your money, finances, material resources. We have the Eight of Pentacles. Having to show up. So this is about giving energy, giving effort to this area of your life. Don't bury your head in the sand, especially if you have some financial stuff that you want to take care of right now. This is a reminder that you can see a lot of improvements if you just give it some attention, give it some energy, give it some focus, and things are going to improve. This also means that you really want to show up for the things you're being led to do, right? Is it apply for that job even if you don't feel like you're 100% qualified? Is it talk to that friend about that thing, or is it make that investment in yourself? I mean, whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, the Eight of Pentacles is just reminding you that you have to show up for the work, okay? And it's not about bleeding yourself dry. It's just about showing up and pouring energy into it. So finances look good. It's just that the Eight of Pentacles emphasizes a lot of free will. So it's kind of like it's up to you what you do with this. Now, this is relationships, romantic, platonic, however you're defining that for yourself. We have the Two of Wands. I think you have a clear idea of what you're wanting or where you're heading. This is kind of like I'm creating a roadmap for myself or for my relationships. Maybe you're wanting a really tight-knit friend group, or you're wanting that ideal partner, or maybe you're building with a partner. It's all about giving yourself a map and some guidance for how it is that you're going to step into that energy of being congruent with it. And then we have the Ten of Wands. Okay. Don't overwhelm yourself with over planning, right? Because this is, I have a vision. It's really clear. I have this map. I know what steps I need to take. This is the inner knowing of it. But the Ten of Wands is overwhelmed. So you don't want to do it so much to the point where you have every detail mapped out and then you start like bursting at the seams if things aren't going your way. So that's where you kind of want to balance those two things. Yes, you have the vision. Yes, you have the alignment. Yes, you have clarity, but you're also not forcing it or trying to bulldoze it. You have to leave room for flexibility and modifications in your desires and in your plan. And that's what's going to make you, bounce along in a way that's more relaxed. I'm telling you, this month is about relaxing, not stressing, but simply showing up. That's really what this is all coming back to. Those are the major themes that you have happening. And then this is advice for you. The Magician, be specific, ask for what you want. If you knew nothing could go wrong, like just assume that nothing could ever be messed up. What would you ask for? What would you pursue? What would you show up for? That's what this card is really having you ask. And don't be afraid to be specific. And remember, when you're asking for these wild, crazy, ludicrous things, you don't want to go into, well, that's not realistic, so I shouldn't ask. Cut that out. Don't worry about whether or not it's realistic. What do you know anyway about it being realistic? You can create anything. So instead, you want to lean into, I'm just going to ask for what I want clearly in all of these different areas, and then leaning into that, leaning into the feeling, and, really showing up with that money piece. Action is going to be dominant when it comes to your money this month. It's like showing up for efforting. If you have financial goals, then that's what you're asking for. Make sure you're listening to your intuition and showing up in that light. This is on the horizon, so this is a little bit farther out future-wise. This is near future, this is farther out. We have the Six of Pentacles, reciprocity, and this is also the idea that you get what you give. Let me see. The Lovers. Okay, so this is going to show up directly in your environment. It might take the form of people, right? If you want someone to be more vulnerable with you, you have to be vulnerable first, or at least that's going to get you what you want. If you want to know how someone else feels, you know, putting that out there first. If you want to experience more generosity, you know, are you being generous first? Like, just understanding that there is 100% a big balance to all of that. And the Six of Pentacles is highlighting that here. So the Lovers is just reminding you that that connection and the decisions that you're making are going to be a direct reflection in your environment, in the relationships that you have, and the opportunities that you receive. And so don't be afraid to give first, because that's what's going to be popping up more and more as time goes on. You're going to really see the benefits of the ways that you've showed up. And remember, it's energetic. So if you're giving from a place of guilt or obligation, that's not going to give you the same results as if you're giving from a place of pure gratitude and abundance. You see the difference? So if you're feeling obligation, fear, or a frustration around it, then I would say hold off and wait until your emotions shift. Okay, now we're going to get into the timeline. First, second, third, and fourth quarter of February. You guys know the drill. First quarter of February, we have the Nine of Swords. This is that scarcity picture that you have sitting in the center that you're working through. And the Nine of Swords has been coming up quite a lot. And the good news for, you know, if you've watched another video where this card has come up in other areas, just know that a lot of this is mental illusion, mental fear, not actual fear. The Nine of Swords is really nice because it's a nightmare card, but that's happening in dream time. It's not happening in the physical world. So this doesn't mean something fearful is going to emerge. This is the internal state and frequency of fear, which is something you can absolutely navigate. You have to try a different approach, though. That's going to be the solution to the fear. Quarter two, we have the Ten of Wands. This is overwhelm. This is also the same thing that we saw right here. This is also the Ten of Wands. And so what I'm getting is that you really have to loosen your grip. You really, really do. Show up in an aligned way. Do not cling tightly. Do not white knuckle your desires. And this ultimately is telling you, if you just relax into this being taken care of, if you relax into, I don't need to fight and thrash so much in order for things to work out, it's going to get easier, because this is definitely overwhelm can bleed into the results you get. Don't go there. Third quarter, we have the Hermit. Retreat. You kind of need to give your mind a break. Give yourself space, time, pour energy back into yourself, fill your cup, lean into your intuition. That's going to be way more helpful with all of this in order to problem solve. You can't really problem solve from a frantic and panicked space. So in order to get through anything that's coming up that's making you feel really fearful or scarce or any of those pictures, you kind of want to go into getting quiet, quieting that part of your mind down, and then you'll get to the core of what needs to be done. And wrapping up the month, we have the Knight of Swords. Okay, so pursue your ideas. You know, whatever the solution is that you uncover here, or whatever is brought to clarity in this third quarter, act on it. Now you need to pursue it. You need to marry the realization that you have in this third quarter with the tactical approach in the fourth quarter. So this is a very, it's a very action-oriented month for you. And know that relaxation is the secret. Like, that's ultimately what I would recommend you practice in February. The more you do that for yourself, the better you're going to feel. And let's do a 3-card pick. You're welcome to pick a card, any card, ask a question. Do whatever feels right to you. Card number 1, we have Judgment, Final Decisions. This is also reminding me of the Magician in many ways, in the sense that you want clarity first. You have the creative potential, anything is possible. Oh, I should have pointed this out sooner, but the infinity symbol, how I was like, what do you know about being realistic? That's why. And the Judgment card is just highlighting, if you concretely stick to this is what I'm wanting, this is what I'm lining myself up with, you're going to get there faster. If you are constantly flip-flopping, it's going to be harder for things to align. So just get clear on what you're asking for first and then pursue. Card number 2, we have the 10 of Cups. Okay, so this is celebration, happiness, having a reason to enjoy yourself. I'm getting that the 10 of Cups really is just reminding you that there's so much more good stuff than I think even you're giving yourself credit for, or that you're able to see. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that just because stress is present or stress is something that you're working through means that things are going awry or that things are bad. It really is more about the judgment value that you place and then how you navigate the emotions. The 10 of Cups is saying, hey, there's a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot to be grateful for. There's a lot to celebrate. So stop and do that rather than focusing on tasking or working or exhausting yourself with stress. Card number 3, we have the Sun. Okay, this is also a childlike energy coming off of this card. It's pleasure, 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 enjoying yourself in a way that is relaxed and is helping you get into the energy of, I'm receiving good things, I'm receiving, more of whatever it is that I'm desiring. And this is also going to be, this is a card that just really highlights, make space for fun, make space for enjoyment. Just because you do have a lot of cards that are kind of like, oops, stress could pop up here, 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 and the way to move through that is to really take it upon yourself to make space for fun, make space for pleasure. Don't ignore that. If you find yourself getting really stressed out about whatever you're asking, you want to go back into play. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this reading. If you did, go ahead, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. And if you would like to work with me one-on-one, you guys know I do cold psychic readings, which means I just do an energy check with you and answer all of your questions. There might be some tarot in there. All of the info is on onyxhealing.com, so go check that out. Or you can take a look at the links in the description box. And until next time, have a beautiful February, everybody. I am sending you nothing but love, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.